Good morning, dear students. Today I'm going to explain you about cultural identity, what is culture, and what is act of an identity. In our previous session, we talked about extra-linguistic issues in cross-cultural communication. Now, today, we are going to speak about cultural identity. So, what is cultural identity? Cultural identity defines who we are and how we are viewed by other people. It is constructed very broadly in terms of an individual's association with a number of important social groups, including family, gender, place of residence, economic position, and ethnicity. Although none of these social groups on their own build the complete identity of a person, taken in combination, they provide some of the basic elements of cultural identity. By explicitly understanding how individuals see these different social groups, many stereotypes can be addressed and challenged. So, from personal associations or membership with a group, individuals draw personal strengths and pride, as well as social importance and historical continuity from using the same language as their group. In modern and open societies, it is difficult to define the boundaries of any particular social group and the linguistic and cultural identities of its members. Group identity based on race would seem easier to define, yet there are almost as many genetic differences between members of the same white or black or Asian racial groups as there are between the classically described races. Despite the entrenched belief in the one language, one cultural equation, individuals assume several collective identities that not only change over time in dialogue with others, but are liable to be in conflict with one another. Now let's see an act of identity. Language crossing as an act of identity relates to choosing one way of talking over another, depending on the topic, the interlocutor, and the situational context. More and more people are living, speaking, and interacting in between spaces, across multiple languages or varieties of the same language. For example, Latinos in Los Angeles, Pakistanis in London, Arabs in Paris, and etc. Such language crossings, frequent in inter-ethnic communication, include switching of codes, the insertion of elements from one language into another. Language crossing enables speakers to change footing within the same conversation, but also to show solidarity or distance toward the discourse communities whose language they are using and to which they perceive the interlocutor as belonging. By crossing language, speakers perform cultural acts of identity. Language crossing can be used also for more complex tenses by speakers who wish to display multiple cultural memberships and play off one against another. The ascription of cultural identity is particularly sensitive to the perception and acceptance of an individual by others. Additionally, it relates to the perception that others have of themselves and to the distribution of legitimate roles and rights that both parties hold within the discourse community. Cultural identity is therefore a question of degree of commitment to the language spoken or imposed by others, personal, emotional investment in that language through the process of acquiring it. So, now let's see what is culture. Culture is a significant force which brings not only interest and enjoyment into one's life, but may also bring difficulty, discomfort, or even conflict into one's life. Three additional definitions of culture are all of the accepted and patterned ways of behavior of a given people. So this is the first definition. It is a body of common understanding. It is a sum total and the organization or arrangement of the group's ways of thinking, feeling, and acting. Everyone has a culture and no one can live without a culture. Second one, culture is that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals, law, customs, and other capabilities or habits acquired by members of a society, told by Taylor. And the third one, the sum total of ways of living built up by a group of human beings, which is transmitted from one generation to another. Now let's talk about cultural superiority. People tend to have a more positive image of their own cultures than they do of other cultures. This may very well be a natural worldwide phenomenon. It is not uncommon that we feel that our culture has achieved more or has made more material progress or we are more attractive or bigger or cleaner or that we have a longer, richer tradition. Three patterns of cultural superiority in descending order of frequency are. The first one. The first attitude is one of unquestioned superiority. This feeling of superiority may be accompanied by a wide range of emotions, indifference to other cultures, feeling sorry for other cultures, having a rather patronizing concern to help them, to outright dislike and contempt for them. Second one. The second attitude is characterized by recognizing the principle of cultural equality. Here there is a desire to reduce or eliminate any feeling of superiority, even if there is actually no informed recognition of the worth and validity of the other country. Now, the third one. The third and by far the least common approach is one of genuine exploration, in which people seek to see the other culture from its own perspectives and not judge it by external values. Its internal logic, its validity, its strengths are slowly uncovered and genuine respect emerges. Now, tips for the teachers. Teachers should consider, so what does it? Be aware of your personal culture and the influences it may have on you as a teacher, on you as a teacher. Understand that culture is pervasive. It influences the way you act, you see, feel, do, interact, and behave. Accept that quite a lot of your own behaviors and behaviors of your students are rule governed and ritualized. You are a member of a culture which regulates your behaviors. Don't make assumptions about other people's cultures based on their ethnicity or nationality. Don't make the mistake of thinking that the people in your culture are diverse individuals, whereas the people in other cultures are indistinguishable. Look for the knowledge, awareness, and skills needed to improve intercultural communication within your class. Accept that stereotyping is inevitable. Be aware of it and help your students to guard against stereotyping. Don't draw conclusions about a student's culture based on some aspect of their lifestyle. Don't assume when you see something that seems familiar in another culture that it has the same meaning and significance as in your own culture. Accept cultural difference as a reality. Underneath, the people of the world can be profoundly different. Don't make the mistake of thinking that your culture is more complex than others. Allow yourself to like and dislike aspects of other cultures, but don't condemn entire cultures. When you judge another culture, you are, more than likely, using your own culture standards as to do so. So this is the end um, of our session. If you have any questions, you may write some comments. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.